Hello, hello. Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to the UpSet podcast. I am one of your hosts.
Hello, hello. Happy Sunday.
I was like, why don't I hear myself? I'm assuming that maybe somebody from the crew. Hello, everybody.
Hey, happy Sunday.
Hello.
Good
Hello.
to be
I'm the
back,
culprit.
family.
Who's the
I'm
culprit?
I'm the culprit.
I thought we had
I was monitoring the stream and and I didn't mute my mic. Sorry about that.
Oh man, I wanted it to be Latasha's fault. I thought it was
Oh no. What?
Everyone hates hearing this.
Tosh is a pro. She didn't make my kind of mistakes.
Well, welcome everybody joining us. As you can probably tell, we are live.
live.
So yes, we love it when we can interact with you in the comments. So we look forward to what you have to say tonight. Thanks for joining us. All right, guys. So what? Oh, and I must say, please share. If you're watching this right now, go ahead and share it with others so they can watch it live as well and give their feedback. If you're on Facebook, you can share it there. YouTube, send the link to somebody, and let's continue to make this an interactive conversation. But okay, guys, so what's been on your timeline? What's new this week for all of you? Let's talk about some of the exciting things going on. Marlene?
Well, I just want to say I'm so glad to be back. I've been gone 2 weeks.
Yes.
I've been in isolation. Amen. Up on the mountain praying. We did a 2-week evangelism effort, and just so grateful for what God has done, bringing souls. And we still have several baptisms to go. And I'm just so thankful for the work of Christ. And so this is my first day. It was supposed to be my first day to do absolutely nothing, but I forgot. And this was my chance to lead out tonight. And so, but I'm just grateful to be here. And I just thank God he's done wonderful things. And so I'm here, I'm still floating. So it's just good to be with the team.
Yes. And congratulations on that successful series. You know, that takes a lot out of you. So
absolutely.
Praise God for the souls that were brought to him through those few weeks.
Amen. And for every soul that got baptized, you get a 10% increase on your check. So look out for that.
Amen.
I
Look how God blesses.
I don't know what he's talking about. What do you mean? We work for Allegheny East Conference. What are you talking about? That? Some deep incentives. Listen, I got to tell you this. What's on my type line? What's on my line type?
Timeline.
Now I don't feel bad.
It reminds me of that commercial. What's on my timeline is gas prices are ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I just can't believe
gracious. I think they're going down a little bit though, Pat.
My lady, yes, they are going down, but not to my liking.
Yeah.
But it's like for everybody that is like complaining or highlighting about the high gas prices, there's another set who are reminding us, just be grateful you can pay for your gas.
Well,
just think about the fact that you pay $6 for a Starbucks drink, which is more than a gallon of gas, and you don't So he's like,
I hate those put it in perspective comparisons.
Exactly. Like, we want to complain right now, right?
But it's really price gouging. They had out in Beverly Hills.
California is ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man, I'll be walking.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's either that or buy a horse. Well, I in keeping with Women's Month, I guess is the month for women. I'm not sure the proper name, but came across an event that occurred last week. And it was in reference to that amazing battalion in the United States Army. They were called the 6888, and it was an all-female Black battalion in the United States Army.
Wow.
There's over 800 of them.
Amazing.
Wow. And the President of the United States signed a bill last week that they should get the Congressional Gold Medal for their service.
Very good. Very good.
And I believe there's only 3 or 4 of them still alive. But what was interesting is that their assignment was to take care of the male backlog for the service personnel. Now you may say, oh, okay, so they were like glorified post office. Actually, what they did was they did get the mail that was 6 months in backup. 6 months. Now, if you could imagine you're in the military and you write home and you don't get an answer, or you're at home and you don't hear from your loved one. Well, they found out that the mail was being backed up. So they had this 6888. Actually, it's a 6888 battalion, but they affectionately call it the 6888. Look it up on
I'm just
Google.
about to look it up, Chuck.
Yeah.
Fascinating story, fascinating photographs. And they were all commanded by Black officers, Black female officers.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's called the 6888 Battalion. Look it up.
I'm looking it up,
Wow.
Chuck, because sometimes I believe you be making stuff up.
Not Chuck. No. That might be Tally, but not Chuck.
He always has.
So one of the things on my timeline that got my attention was the president of Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, declared that they would be providing free room, board, and schooling and tuition all summer for 50 to 100 students from Ukraine. Right.
Wow.
So
Very
after
nice.
announcing this, of course, the Black folks were like, they never do that for our people. Why they got to do that for them? Yes, you could argue that. But, you know, it is a noble deed,
they're in a
noble
crisis,
declaration.
right.
But whenever there's a crisis going on in Africa or other, minority, majority country, I hope to see the same energy from our HBCUs. That's all I got to say.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Producer, I did put Chuck out there, and I just want to let you know, Chuck, I don't know what you do besides media, but to read all day and research. But yeah, there's such thing. Yeah, such thing as 6888.
Oh no.
Also, in other words, you found it to be true.
It's true.
It's been verified, ladies and gentlemen.
by
look at
his
that.
Google search. Yes.
That's our youth director with no trust. Youth director.
You're right, Marlene. I'm back.
For now,
So-
Marlene, the constituency's coming.
Easy.
Oh, he needs our vote right in
He
October.
threw
Oh
out
my
the C
goodness.
word. No, he didn't.
Go ahead. I want to see one of y'all in the room. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We're gonna keep moving along. But I did you guys, I know you heard about the Crown Act. But you heard that the House voted 235 to 189 to prohibit the discrimination on the basis of your hair texture or your hairstyles. Of course, this primarily affects those with our type hair.
Mhm.
And so now the bill will go to Senate. And it's amazing to me, we were talking a little bit about last week how I think Pastor Hoy was sharing how she was pulled aside and said, maybe you want to take those braids out. It's not really a professional look.
Oh,
To know
my.
that was kind of like Black women couldn't wear afros or certain style locks even were seen as
Wow.
unprofessional. And so this Crown Act goes to kind of speak to that, to give people of color more versatility with their hair and not impact their employment. So
Yeah.
Have mercy.
Protect the crown. I love it.
Yeah.
But check it out, though. This is not for this show, but we can have for another show. I went to a church and I spoke at a church, and I could say it was one of our African churches where they did not allow locks or braids in front of on the pulpit or in the church.
Wow.
That's something we could talk about. I mean,
Oh, we
I'm
have to
sure
talk
times
about
have changed
that.
in the
My
few
goodness.
years that I've been there, but it's amazing. It's amazing.
it is.
Yeah, it's flat out draconian.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
So much
This is
thing.
2022.
Yes,
Right.
I mean, you have other women, other than women of color, wearing braids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They may not braid up and look like ours, but they wear
Right.
them. It's a
Still braids,
style.
That's right. That's right.
That just goes to show how deep the brainwashing has been over the
Yeah.
past hundreds of centuries.
Mm.
That
mercy.
we are so now anti-African in our
Right.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we have to look like the Europeans to be accepted.
Come on.
We don't.
That is right.
So it's discrimination
Yo-
within.
I just saw that. You understand? I rock my mohawk in the office daily.
That's right. Let
Go
them
Go
know.
ahead, Bonnie.
We with you.
All right, guys. Well, we have a lot to talk about tonight. As you all know, we're still dealing with Women's History Month. We know
Yay.
it's an important month. And so we're taking advantage of this opportunity to cover as many topics as we can. And I do want to thank, I'll say this at the end, but I do want to thank so many of you who have emailed us with different topics. We're looking forward to getting to those in future episodes. But tonight, Pastor Marlena, you're leading us out. We missed you, so we want to hear your voice even more this week. So tell the people what we're talking about this evening.
Family, it is so good to be back with you. I am delighted to discuss this topic as a woman and in celebration of us and what we do, because there are many of you ladies who rock out there. And so we are going to celebrate women even the more tonight. I don't know if you saw the movie Hidden Figures, but we're going to talk about those ladies that made phenomenal history in what they did, along with some other women who might not be recognized yet. And I hope that there are a few. I'm going to get Tosh to put it back up in just a little bit. But there's so many women that we want to celebrate and learn that there's so many, probably thousands that are out there whose history we are unaware of because no one has published it, or nor was it documented so that we might know. Amen. So we're going to start out tonight, but I just want to share a little history with you before we talk directly about these women, because in my studies, I looked up some important information. Did you know that in 1923, that the National Women's Political Party pushed for women's equality and their rights? But it was not approved until October 1971, when the Women's Equal Rights Amendment was passed by Congress. It was actually 48 years later. That means 48 years, women could not work or do the same type of jobs that men could do. Now, this interesting thing is, while there is a law of equality, there are still struggles we face today as women, but much more as Black women. So even though we're going to talk about women and celebrate them, our focus today is going to be on our African American, Black and brown women. All right. There is the dismissal of knowledge and competency towards African American women due to the color of their skin and gender. In other words, people will look at you and assume that you do not have knowledge or that you're incompetent only because of the color of your skin and your gender. Many of us know we have to work 10 times harder to just be recognized and accepted that we have the same competency as someone else. We even see today, years later, with our own vice president, Kamala Harris, who is a brilliant woman, yet and still in her history, we see the world putting her down. She has the lowest
approval rating.
Yes. I was going to say popular rating, approval rating than any other vice president. And it's because we strongly believe her being an African American woman. And even when we look at Ketanji Brown Johnson, who will be she will be our first Supreme Court justice, right? They're saying we want to see her LSAT scores. In other words, they want to see if she really was competent in her knowledge, or did they just pass her through? So I heard this quote even this morning from it was an interview of a politician on the news, and it says that our African American women are treated as if they are aliens, extreme in their thoughts, and radical in their decisions, because Caucasian men feel that they should be the ones to get the jobs versus African American women. So that takes us to the movie. I don't know if you saw the movie. It's an excellent movie. I'm telling you, I'm late seeing it myself, but it was excellent. We're going to talk about today 3 phenomenal women: Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson. They work for NASA right in Hampton. Well, I grew up in Virginia. Hampton, the NASA site is probably about 25 minutes from where I live now. This was in 1961 where these women broke records. But the interesting thing is that we never heard about it until Margot. What's Margot's last name? Somebody? Margot wrote this book, right? In 2016, she wrote the book about hidden figures,
Yeah.
which then, became large, and then it became bestsellers and things in all of the major book sites. But the interesting thing is that these three women, they fought against opposition as being Black females, as being women, period, in 1961, where equality had not been passed yet. So, to the crew, I want to ask you, what do you think about these three women who were phenomenal, who came through the ranks of NASA? And at that time, they weren't even recognized, but we know what they have done now. What would you like to say about them? Because I want to celebrate them tonight.
Well, one of the things that just fascinated me with the story, and there are a lot of things, a lot of fascinating aspects of the story, but in it, true story, and even in the movie, they were considered the computers. They didn't use computers.
Mm-hmm.
They were the computers.
Yes.
And that was intentional. And what I like about that is they handled it.
Amen.
Hey, Chuck, can I piggyback off what you just? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got. You see, when I scratch, there's a problem, right? It's almost like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just man. As soon as you came out with that, first of all, I watched the movie a million times, and the music by Pharrell is absolutely, and Hans Zimmer is absolutely off the chain.
Yeah.
But to bring it back, they only thought that women were good enough to be typists. So when they brought the computers in, they put them in the same seat as though they were just going to be typists.
Right.
So they had to learn the computer, which the men thought they were too great, to sit down at a desk with letters and numbers in front of them. So they already walked in ahead of the game, knowing how the actual computers work. So I just wanted to put it out there that sometimes when we try to minimize women and put them in a place, they use the same, I'm going to use a word, minimization, if you will, and end up flipping the script on it where you can't even do anything
without us.
Without them.
Tag me in, Pat. Tag me in.
Good, I got you.
So they brought these computers in thinking, okay, in just a few more years or months, we're not going to need these Black women anymore to be our computers, because these computers will replace them. But the director of those ladies took the time to learn that computer, to learn coding, and taught that to her ladies to give them an asset and an advantage that can leverage them into the future. And so when you think about innovation, you think about courage, they all got it.
Yeah.
Kudos to them. Phenomenal story and such inspiration even for today, because even today, many minorities are missing out on the chunk of change coming from the tech industry, coming from the coding industry. And so what are we doing to mobilize our young people into these opportunities so that we're not left behind? Just like they were trying to keep them behind.
Yeah.
There are people trying to keep us behind right now. And so it's so powerful. And I just hope that people take the time to see the movie if you haven't seen it yet. And if you've seen it already, go see it again with the new lens, because there's so many gems in that movie.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to the actors also.
Yes.
Let me
just amazing work.
Yeah.
Amazing work.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
I wanted to, since GP brought up that whole thing about how she taught the other ladies, I think that's key. That was one of the things I noted. I mean, aside from their brilliance, of course, the fact that she didn't say, I'm just going to learn this so I can preserve myself, or, I can know it so when the time comes, I can stay. She wanted to make sure everybody
can eat.
Yeah, everybody can eat. And I was like, wow, if only we kept that up now.
Yes.
Once we have knowledge, once we have that inside scoop, we share it. We're not hoarding it to ourselves so that only we can win that, but so that it can stretch out wide.
But guys, I want to share with you too, not only did she want to make sure that they had the knowledge, but she advanced them with her, because she was going to be advanced alone. And she says, no, not without my girls. I want to bring my ladies.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
man, can you imagine if we stuck together like that? And so she took her whole crew in, because initially, many of them were mathematicians, right?
Right.
Weren't they working as
right.
mathematicians? And then when IBM came in, and she would sneak, that's Dorothy Vaughan, she would sneak in during the night and
Yep.
learn the IBM until she got caught, right?
Yeah.
When she got caught, she was able even to help the men, the two leaders who could not even understand the workings of the machine. I was like, man,
Right.
these were some bad sisters. And we're
Yep.
going to discuss how they were first in what they did, along with some others. But I want to ask you guys.
Marlena, before you go through real quick,
Yeah.
I just love
Go
what
ahead.
Michelle said. Michelle put out there, sisterhood, elevating on another. Then you notice she was like, I made a mistake. I meant one another. Because
Yeah.
the whole concept of walking away with the crabs in the barrel, that
Mhm.
you know everybody gets to the top by stepping on each other. I love that she quickly changed that around, because it's you see how one word
Mhm.
can just can just change the whole thing. Elevating on another. No, she changed it and said, no, elevating one another. I
That's
just wanted to
right.
bring that out, what she said. Go ahead, Marlena. Go ahead.
Thanks, Michelle. Listen, we know that this oppression with Black women is still prominent right now. We see that with the Supreme Court judge, how they're trying to find dirt on her right now. My question is, why is there still so much suppression, even though the evidence is right before their eyes, the competency of these women? Is it fear? Is it intimidation?
It's both.
Yeah, I
All
think
of the
it's
above.
male fragility.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the world's messed up.
I heard that quote
That too.
earlier today. Mhm.
That sounds familiar, Chuck. Green Room.
It is. It is. I mean, that's the only thing it could be. I mean, why else wouldn't you want someone else to utilize their intelligence, especially thinking about something like Hidden Figures? This was something that was going to help, this first expedition. I know there was like the race to space,
Yep.
this was going to help us win. Like, why wouldn't you want, the most brilliant minds? But and of course, they wanted the minds. They just didn't want to give them the credit for what they were
Right.
doing. They,
Right.
But you
Well,
know
I think
what
it
I
boils down to fear. It boils
Mhm.
down to fear.
Mhm.
In the instance with the three engineers at NASA, and I can't say for sure, because I don't know the men and not really studied what their reactions were. But if you look at it from their perspective, here are men that have gone to school, they've arrived, they're smart, they're recognized. They don't want three Black women coming along and taking their thunder.
And they were
It's
also
fear.
educated
Yeah, it's
Doesn't mean they're smart, though.
fear.
in their eyes.
There you go.
But they
Go ahead,
did.
Chuck.
Oh, you said
I'm sorry, Chuck was in the middle of his.
Oh no! I was
Oh.
just. I think it just boils down to fear, and that still exists today.
Mhm.
Still exists today.
Mhm.
There's a fear of a Black woman or Black man excelling beyond where they think they should be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Good
it's
word.
another brand of discrimination.
Yeah. At the root of exploitation is intimidation. Folks are
Mm.
scared, and so we're going to do all that we can to keep them
Have
behind
mercy.
so that
Have
we can
mercy.
stay ahead.
You-
But you know what I want?
No,
Yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
Marlena.
I'm the host.
This thing is
I'm a host and a talker. Go right ahead.
no, Marlena. This thing is good. This thing is good, right? Because really, we as men, we ought to be able to authenticate the wisdom in women, right? I go back to the movie again, and if y'all ain't see the movie, I gotta see the movie. John Glenn, who's an astronaut, did not trust his fellow scientists to bring him back through the
From
you know
space.
there's
From orbit.
Orbiting the space.
coming back
Right.
through orbit. He says, and I don't mean to say this because it sounds bad, but he asked the real question. In the movie, he might have asked a different question, but in real life, he says, "Where's that girl?"
Yeah, but they always
he
call
brought
them
it
that,
Right.
They always
Oh.
call them girl. I was listening to an interview with the author, Margot Lee Shetterly, and she was saying that they called all of them girl. So
Right.
anytime they needed something, like go get that girl or go get the girl, I was like, wow, first of all, that, not
Label.
even use their names, I was like,
1991. Yeah.
Because when we were all looking through through this movie, and we all were doing our research, we saw little kids, and I know we're going to talk about that afterwards. To me, you have to be taught those type of things, right? So even the vernacular, and I think in the chat it says labels, even though they call them girls, he still said, I want her to bring me back home. So I'm saying that in a way to say sometimes we have to sometimes it takes us as men to do the job to say, move over, y'all. Let's bring in someone who's going to take it. First of all, I want to live. forget the science part of it. If there's somebody on that team that's going to allow me to live,
Well,
I need her to be at that. So I think in the movie he said, who's Catherine? I want Catherine. But in real life, he said, where's that girl? So I just think we ought to authenticate each other.
But I just want to say this, guys, real quick, is that no matter how much man suppresses you, God has a way of elevating his people. Because you remember, I think the guy's name was Harrison. Wasn't his name Harrison? The top guy that Kevin Costner was playing in NASA. I wrote his name down. Harrison.
You're right, Al Harrison.
Right. So this is the good stuff, because Catherine was being set up, right? She was called to come in and review the workings of the other people, but they were didacting the things that she was supposed to do, right? Blacking them out so she could not see. And they were making her appear incompetent, right?
Yep.
And so they had said to her, remember the white lady says to her when she brings her in, because she's already says, you're the first colored person, period, that's been in here. There had never been an African-American male nor female. Says you're the first colored person. Don't embarrass me, right? And so that's again, we're deemed incompetent, because of the color of our skin. And so this woman is in here, and the Mr. Harrison, she said, don't expect him to talk to you, don't expect him to acknowledge you, right? But because of her skills, he could not help but start to acknowledge her. And remember when she had to go to the bathroom because there were only colored bathrooms that were a mile away. She had to take her books with her, run to the bathroom, whether it was sunny or in the rain, come back in the rain, right? And with her stuff done. And he says, where are you going every day? And she just blew up because it was just a bad day. She was tired of running to the bathroom. And this guy went and knocked the signs down, right? So she could use the same bathroom as everyone else. And so I want to say that God will set up people in your life, even though there's opposition. Even though there's opposition, he will set up people in your life so that he can still elevate you, because it was that man that still, when she wanted to come in the room.
Still, Marlena, you came off in the evangelistic.
She's on
an
that high.
She wanted to come in the room.
Girl, you go ahead.
She wanted to come in the room. And the other guy's like, you can't come in here. No woman has ever been in this room. And she's like, I'm getting in that room. And so I just wanted to put that out, that no matter, how others oppress us, God has a way of getting us where others thought we could not go, and lift us up in that place.
Yeah,
that's a word.
Yeah, I really feel like that's what it means when he says your gifts will make room for you. I mean, that type of giftedness, no one else could do what she did in that moment, or at least not in that space. And for her to not cower back and say, oh, well, she said, be quiet, but to know that you can contribute to something and continue to speak towards that. I think that's something that we can take away from it too. Don't cower back. The gifts that God has given you. Why stay in the shadows when you can make a difference? That was really powerful to see.
Absolutely. And guys, listen, I understand how society will treat African-American women who are excellent at what they do to try to keep them back in their place. But why do we receive the same kind of opposition within our own race? Let's talk about that. Why is there opposition within our African-American community with Black women?
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to answer that, but I want to go back to something coming.
Go ahead.
I'm a big movie buff, so I'll be in the books to see what's right and wrong, what really happened, what didn't happen. In real life, the three women didn't know each other. Right? They weren't. The movie showed them as being close.
Gotcha.
But where they were, let's go to the fact. That's the part to re-energize us to stay together. What I loved about that part, it actually energized me to know that there was power on one side of Nassau, power on the other side of Nassau, and another power on another side of Nassau, which I believe that you ought to do your work the best way you can, even if the crisis is not there. Marlena, keep your thought process, because I wanted to share this piece. The piece I want to share with everybody is that they didn't come up, the movie made it seem like they came up on the scene based on the crisis. They were already working there. One of them 10 years before as a supervisor. Right. So as a supervisor,
as an unrecognized supervisor, just in the position, but without the pay.
Yeah. You know, and the reason why I say that is because you have to maintain greatness every day. Right.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but I may get beat up for it. Women have to always be at the top at all times, not wavering, because the truth is that men are looking for ways
to
discredit you,
push you back out. Right.
Looking for ways to kind of bring you back down. So to me, I didn't look at it as a wrong fact and let's go push it to the side. I looked at it as Catherine did great in her area. So-and-so, Dorothy did great in her area, so that during the crisis, they knew who to come to.
Yeah.
And I think that is where I feel energized over the Hidden Figures, that they were great even before the crisis came around.
Correct. Yeah.
And the other thing too, we have to recognize that the book, this movie was based on a book, as we mentioned, and the author was saying that the book is different than the movie. Of course, with movies, you have to kind of create scenes and keep the drama going.
Sensationalize it.
But there's so much more to each of the individuals. And the book goes into more detail about them. And that's the thing about it. She decided to write this book because her father worked with them in NASA. So that's kind of why she even had the
because
idea.
I saw she was from Hampton. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was telling her about all these great women. And so she decided to do her own research and write the book. But this is just a few of them. You know what I'm saying? This is just a representative of so many others who are also hidden figures that we may not even know about now. And I think it's important for us when we learn of people to get it out there, write something, so that, because we wouldn't have known, a lot of people wouldn't have known about these women had she not taken the time to write the book.
Amen. It's about our conversation. Because I want to say, even though the movie was about the three, all of those women in that room that were mathematicians and then became human computers, they were all phenomenal in order to carry NASA at that time. I thought that was great.
Marlena, come back with it. I cut you off on that piece.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Because I got some peeps who are with me that are going through that right now. When we talk about, suppression of very competent, educated, bad sisters, that there is still just suppression within our own race. And someone said in our churches that is true, and I'm telling you, being in a man's world is a tough thing, especially some of us have careers in a man's world. I'm a female pastor, and it's tough being a female pastor, in a man's world. Let's talk about that. Why is there still suppression in whatever, you do as a Black female?
James Brown wrote a hymn called "It's a Man's World."
He wrote a what?
Did you ever hear a hymn? Gotta listen to it.
M or
that well, I'm saying it in jest, but
I know.
We got you, Chuck.
It is because of male dominance.
That's right.
And male dominance has no color.
Yeah,
that's right.
So we still see it even in our own communities. Yeah,
has no color.
But can I go back to your first answer, Chuck, earlier in the show, in this segment? It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry.
So absolutely.
Men are afraid of being replaced, whether it's within your race or not.
That's right.
Yeah.
I see a question from Carrie Williams.
Yes,
in the chat.
yes, I saw her.
So we mentioned it earlier. Why is there opposition from other Black women?
Yeah, and that goes to competition. I feel like
Go
because
ahead.
there are only few. Just like she told her, you're the only Black woman that's ever been in here. It's like, okay, if I'm going to be the one, like I got to make sure I'm the one. I can't, I have to. hold my place. And if I'm holding my place, I can't bring you with me. That's some of the mentalities.
But look at but Dorothy Vaughan didn't do that. They asked her to come. She says, not without my girls. That was the prime example of someone feeling very competent in what they did and not only wanted to progress themselves, but to progress the other ladies who had worked so hard, and she knew her girls could do the job. That's why I love that, about her. And something that they said in the movie, that she was so brilliant in what she did, Dorothy Vaughan, that she was recognized as one of the most brilliant supervisors in NASA. And so she could have just gone on her own, but she brought all of the sisters with her. I loved that. I loved that. So she didn't have fear. She didn't feel, that she was incompetent in what and it could be someone else smarter than her. She was looking out for the rest, and I love that. I love that.
You want to talk about replacement? Look what Sister Charlotte just said. How did we have church in a male-dominant pulpit? Remember, I'm not talking about preaching, okay? I'm talking about pastoring. I mean, there are times when we had to listen to things that made us uncomfortable.
That's right.
As a pastor, there are times when, and I'm sure we all have gone through that, where I wish that I could say, let me refer you to someone who can handle that, and hold on, not just a woman who can handle it, but someone who's competent to be able to handle those type of things. I know we coined this phrase, female pastors. I'm going to tell you something that I thank God that I've gotten over a long time ago. I never say female pastors.
Right.
I have other problems, but not that. I mean, and other when I say that, I'm talking about, can women do this, can male do this, etc. But when I look at a pastor, especially the ones that I work with, sometimes I'm like, sometimes I'm like, dog, they're not only going to take my place, but if I'm not sharp, and I don't, you understand what I'm saying? I need to be sharp at all times, not just for women, but for everyone. Stay sharp. Marlena, what's our girl's name at Metro? Now she's over in
Novella.
Novella. I'm not my girl. See,
girl, watch that.
Yeah.
Every time you use that word in
the
peeps,
hold on. Let's pause and acknowledge all the female pastors. Lisa Reed.
Yep.
Yes.
Alexis Myers.
Yep.
Recently hired. And so all of our pastors, they're not just female
pastors.
They are pastors.
That's
hey,
right.
Let me show you this. Lisa Reed was the first assistant youth director as a woman. Period. Then she became the first female pastor in a regional conference work.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had her on last year talking about
That's
that.
right.
That's right.
That's right.
She blazed it.
That's right.
Still
That's my
pastoring
girl.
right now
Right.
in Allegheny East.
Pastoring, and have one of our major churches. And I don't, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying First Church in DC.
First Church in DC. But hold on though. You want to really put chest out? Dr. Hyveth Williams, for 13 years, held down Loma Linda Church. And she was the first, is it the first Black woman or the first woman? No, she's the first woman pastor in the denomination, period.
Woo-hoo, trailblazers.
Come on, man.
Awesome. I was on a conference with her today.
Listen, I'm good at hidden figures, but we got a lot of them walking around us. That's
right.
It's just all around, and I just want to give props to that, not only in the church, but also those people who work in the secular division. They're all doing their thing. I just want to give props to them.
And who knows, Pat? Maybe after this constituency session in Allegheny East, we'll have some more trailblazers among our ranks. Maybe they're on the screen right now. Who knows?
Trailblazers.
Sailblazers. I you know what, GP? I'm gonna talk to you in the green room right after this.
Oh yeah,
let's talk about it right now.
This reminds me, we said on this episode we wanted for you all in the chat to shout out some women that you've come across, whether it's in the church or otherwise, that have made an impact or you think don't get enough credit for what they do right now, just in the chat,
Yeah,
and we'll
I
show their
see
names on
Pastor
the screen.
Claudia Allen. Yes, Dr. Paula Olivier. Yep. I know several myself. Amen.
Yeah, so
Amen.
continue to do that, and we'll post those names because
Pastor Kim, Kimberly, from
sure.
the youth director in South
Kim
Central.
Man.
Kim Man,
Yeah, man. Oh, yes.
you know, just
Mhm,
get out
mhm.
of her way. Everything she touches turns to gold.
That's
We
right,
had to
Pastor
we had
Brenda
to pause
Billing
for this
Jr.
next comment.
Yeah. I see a
Oh,
comment.
that's
Marlena
my
for
girl.
president.
Tiffany is
Come on,
crazy.
y'all. Let the
We know
campaign
that will
begin.
never happen.
Yo!
We have other names here: Julian Jones Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I say this, Marlena? I know you were joking.
About what?
That's what we need to stop saying because it's possible.
No,
It's
I'm not saying it's
past
not possible. I'm saying I don't want it. That's all I'm saying.
Well, listen. I'm with you. I understand that.
want it.
I understand it. But guess what? I do believe, like we have Pastor Chandra Nunes, who's a secretary of the conference, I think in Nevada, I believe.
Utah.
Nevada.
Right. Yeah, that made me proud.
Yeah,
I mean, it really made me say, and I know we talked about this before, but we got to keep highlighting this. The Columbia Union, we have a secretary who is what's her name? I'm sorry.
Celeste
talking
Blyden.
about
Celeste
Bryan.
Blyden.
Yes.
Celeste, because if you're a secretary, you could be a president.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then now everybody gonna quit. Everybody all mad. Be like, what?
It really gonna quit then. But guys, once something came out in the movie when they I know Katherine Johnson was complaining about running to the bathroom. She was, complaining. She's like, you hardly pay me anything. And she was doing the same work as all of the Caucasian men and was even more knowledgeable about that. And I want to talk about this unequal pay, for us doing the same work and even better. Do you know that in the gender wage gap, that Caucasian women make 82 cents on the $1 that a man gets, but the women of color make even much less, 62 cents for African American woman, 54 cents for Hispanic. It was 67 cents for American Indian and Alaska natives, and then 90 cents for Asians. No matter what, there is still inequality in our pay, and people have been pushing this for years. Why? What? Y'all know what the devil is going on that they don't want to give us monies. At least let us be equivalent, in our pay. What do you have to say about that?
I was reading about that, or I had heard that, of course, there was a time when men were the major breadwinners. They were the ones bringing in the money. So they just felt like whatever women did was just enough to just, at one point they weren't getting paid at all. But at some point when they started to get paid, they don't need a full wage because they have a spouse who's bringing in the money. So even though you're doing the work, because there was someone else who was the breadwinner, you didn't need as much. That was the mindset behind women not getting the same amount. But as we all know, that really doesn't make sense. And right now, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of women are not even getting married or have no desire to get married. So what are they supposed to do? Still live on, just a percentage of what it takes to run a household. So it's just like that mindset. We've changed so much from the way things used to be to the way they are now. And so therefore the economics needs to change as well.
Mm-hmm. And some women are even more educated than the male cohorts because, many of them kind of just go up the ranks, because of experience. But again, we have to work 10 times harder. So we're even more educated, right? Which still we don't get the equal pay. Mm-hmm.
What will it take to bring more equality to the gap in pay? Because it seems like whenever we have enough outcry, eventually change comes. So do we not have enough men sounding out the alarm of this injustice, or what is holding us back from bringing more equity in the pay scale?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah, that is a great question.
I think part of it is seated in capitalism. Because capitalism, when capitalism started out, it was a good thing. And then it became corrupt. And so now you see a lot of the formulas when it comes to money and promotion and jobs. It's rooted back to some of the missteps of capitalism, and it's still here today. And this is why it's encouraged that people of color, you have your own organization, you have your own company, and you can pay your people what you want to pay them. But you have some capitalistic leftover where heads of corporations already have their prejudices. And they certainly don't. I mean, they don't even want to give. Many companies don't even want to give a living wage to anybody. I mean, the minimum wage they were still fighting over that. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Minimum wage.
Sure.
We're still fighting over that. And what's holding that back? Greed.
Greed.
Yeah. Have mercy.
And let's not
And then-
forget. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chuck. Finish up.
No, I was going to say, and then you add prejudice on top of that, and male chauvinism on
There you
top
go.
of that.
Right. Now fragility.
I mean,
There we go.
world's messed up.
Understatement.
I
Understatement.
heard that before.
I can't get out the green room. He just can't get out the green room. The world's just messed up.
That's the bottom line. The world's just messed up.
I also think we're stuck in discrimination. The same difficulty that they had with civil rights, as far as how they treat blacks, is the same stereotypical attitude that we have against women. The ability, can they do the work? Do they have the ability to do what we can do? You have to change the actual discussion at the table. And what I love the most, you find a lot of more women doing PhDs. I'm not saying everybody has to do it, but one thing I do believe in with the PhD and education is that it puts you at the table to make
Absolutely.
the change. And again, I'm not saying everybody has to go out there and go grab it, because you don't have to. But when we get people sitting at the table to be able to say, hey, no, I'm not leaving here until this changes, or until that changes, until something else. I could remember going to school at the seminary, and I'm going back now to church work. I didn't see a lot of women when I was in seminary, and I was in seminary a couple of years.
70s? What? Huh?
It was 5 years ago.
I was in the seminary late 90s, and you didn't see. Looking at a woman in the seminary back then was like, oh, what you doing, Bible work?
Wow.
Oh, do you understand what I'm saying? Even though they already broke the barrier at that time, you had to be super exceptional to be sitting at that seat. But no, can you imagine women sitting at conference? I'm talking about church conference seats, corporation seats, and being able to make moves and make changes that would better the job force, etc. I'm waiting for it to happen. I'm literally waiting for it to happen, and I don't want to be 65 when it happens.
Well, maybe it will be 2022, Pat. Maybe.
We'll talk after, man. Because something's going on with you, GP. I don't know what you ate, what you drank, but we're gonna work on constituents.
GP is beasting tonight. What are you talking about?
He is.
There is some human pathology here I think we ought to hit on. And I think that the intelligent, educated, well-prepared Black females, because we're zeroing in there,
right?
There needs to be, amongst that community, there needs to be pushback and reach back. Those that are up front need to push back.
Well,
and when the push is successful, they need to reach back and bring
That's
the
good.
sisters up with them.
Oh, Chuck, that's excellent.
Chuck,
that's excellent.
I'm
Chuck.
preaching that bad.
We had to write that down.
No, let me go back. Let me just illustrate that in the story I opened up with. The 6,888 Battalion.
Oh wait, that's true.
In that story, the commander of the battalion, Major Charity Adams, was threatened by her commanding officer that he was going to change her command over to a white officer. So he was going to put a white officer in charge of all of these black women in this battalion. And you know what Major Charity Adams said? She said, "Over my dead body."
That's right.
She remained the major of that battalion.
All right.
Okay. Now, on the other side, the reach back, or not really reach back, but I think maybe helping hand. Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady, United States, was one of her and Dr. What's her name? Mary McLeod Bethune.
Bethune, yes.
Yeah.
The two of them were instrumental in making sure that this battalion had what they needed and pushed forward for women's rights as they move forward. So I just think that, you know, we celebrate our female counterparts and their brilliance and contributions. But I think within that community, there needs to be pushback, reach back.
Push back, reach back.
Love
and I'm so
that.
glad you mentioned Mary McLeod Bethune, because there's an HBCU in Florida, Bethune-Cookman College, named after her.
Yep.
So shout out to her.
Yeah.
Yep. That's good.
Daytona, Florida, Daytona.
Yep,
You
that's
know,
good.
guys, when I was doing the research and I looked up so many Black women who were first in things and trailblazers, but you know, we don't know much about that. What's the importance of us knowing and researching our own history versus waiting for someone else to tell us? What's important about that?
Oh, it's very important. It's like if you don't know your rights, you don't have any.
Well,
Mhm.
If you don't
Yeah.
know your past, you don't have a present.
well,
Right.
if
And
you
you
don't
don't know
know
how
your
to
history,
navigate
you
the
won't.
change.
Yeah, if you don't know your history, you won't know your destiny.
You know what's going on today with you guys? What's going on? You know, I just wanted to do
Pat,
it. So
you should have come.
They're
to the meeting.
rappers
All
now.
I'm
They're
saying.
rappers.
We got a lot of we got to have some hashtags when we burst out.
I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, "Good grief! I guess I need to be in the chat listening to you." But it is true. I mean, just think about it. If they're already teaching us, if they're already pulling our history from the classrooms,
Well,
what we need to do is to heavy up. You know, heavy up on
Especially our
teaching.
Christian schools. Yes, yes, we got to teach.
Definitely, where we have the
Yeah,
ability to be able to do that, and that's the reason why, you know, I'm not putting Oakwood on the top to retool your school.
you better vote.
Yeah.
Come on, we need all the votes.
I'm pushing. But here's the thing: I'm grateful that you can go to the library at Oakwood, and I know they're building at ORC to put a library out there because we have a lot of rich history.
Museum.
The museum, that's right. The museum, that they have a rich history. I'm thinking about all like Anna Knight, Eva B. Dykes. I think she was the first PhD. I believe so. I mean, I'm saying we have this rich history, and our young people know nothing about it because we're not teaching them anything about it. You know, there's so much power in knowledge, and I think that's what I go with you, Marley, you know, on that. Why we're not doing it? I think some of the reasons why we don't want to do it, you know, Chuck, I'm gonna jump on your answer. It's always fear. We're always fearing that someone is going to take our spot, someone's going to take our position, someone's going to edge us out. You know, there's a guy named George Jackson, who retired. He used to work Allegheny East. He lives out in Cali now, and I remember, you know, we have this big fanfare for those who retire. You know, we're like, you know. I said, man, how come you didn't want a big fanfare? He said, you know what he said to me? He said, Pat, I've reached the age now where I need to move on and turn around and look at those who are coming in. and help those who are coming in.
Oh, excellent.
Let me
Excellent.
give up my seat so that somebody else will be able to come on in. And I hope I'm able to do that. I hope I'll be able to retire at 53 so that I could turn around.
Too late. Too late.
Hey, Pat, start drafting in your resignation retirement papers now. That's like soon, very soon.
Like very soon and very soon.
Got a few more miles to go, pun intended.
I hear you, man.
Guys, and another reason why it's so important, for us to research is for our young girls, our young ladies, young ladies, so that they can know that they can be whoever they want to be, that even though there's suppression in the world and it may be a struggle, it may be an obstacle, they may fall sometimes, but they can get back up. And if they continue and certainly remain in prayer, God will help them to be whomever they want to be. And so I think, us being able to share with them names of people who made these kind of achievements, that's great. Because even in the story of Hidden Figures, Mary Jackson, remember when it was I think he was Jewish. He says, if you were a white man, would you want to be an engineer, right? She says, well, if I was a white man, I'd already be an engineer, right? And so he had put it in her head, that you can do this, because she was thinking, I can't get into school. They're not going to hire a black woman, And so they made it harder for her. She had to go to, Hampton High, right? And at that time was an all-white school. She had to petition the courts, to get in the school. Her husband was even saying, she had opposition in her own family. He was saying, no, honey, you can't do this, right? They're not going to allow you to do this. But she remained faithful, and she became the first by NASA to be over the women's program in engineering. And so those are the kind of stories we need to be able to share with our young ladies, that, hey, you can do this, right?
Right. We need to hear less of his story, and more of her story.
Her story.
Right. No, and it's important.
Here we go again. You know what? This show. I'm done.
But it's important too, like for instance, as I shared before, I have 2 daughters. They're basing everything on what they see now, and unless I tell them about the struggle and emphasize how at one point, as a woman, especially as a Black woman, you couldn't do this. Now it helps them appreciate the opportunities they have now. If I just never told them about their history and, what their ancestors, what so many women did to lead the way for them, they wouldn't appreciate the journey so much and understand why now they definitely need to put their best foot forward. So history is important on so many levels, and we have to continue to reach back. Sometimes I think it's painful. Like for me, I hate to watch Roots, because every time I watch it, I just get so upset. And I think sometimes we treat history like that. We don't even want to think about it anymore because it upsets us so much. But that's what motivates us to keep pushing forward, I think.
Yeah.
Or we need to come.
Marlene, I'm going to ask you a question that wasn't in the lineup of questions.
Tally, go ahead, Tally.
What?
No, he'll be more kind to me than
Carol just texted me and said, "Ask that." No. Do you think, and maybe Natasha, you could maybe chime in on this. Do you think there is more camaraderie between white and Black females on female issues or women's rights issues? Do you think there's more connection than with male? I'm just asking.
Women?
I mean, I don't.
That's a good question.
I mean, if it's a women's rights issue, do you see or do you find that women of all colors can come together on that?
Right.
I've seen that happen, especially when it comes to women and their bodies, like the abortion.
For sure, yes.
Birth control and things like that. Women tend to this is something we share in the commonalities kind of bring us together in such a way that it's not even about your race. It's about protecting womanhood. At that point, so I would say I don't know about the comparison though, but I do think that we tend to let some of the other biases aside when it comes to fighting for things that are important to us as women.
Because I've heard many stories about female supervisors. Now we can say it, we can make it a racial thing, but it's even beyond that. Female supervisors won't promote females within their within their command or within their supervisory.
That's
Wow.
competition. To me, that's feeling threatened.
I'm sure, yeah, with people who are very ambitious, and they just want to be at the top and don't want you to get there. That is certainly an issue. I think I think there's probably some of both. Some where people want to see you get ahead, and then there's some who don't want you to get ahead. GP, your hands
May I
raised.
speak? So, in answer to Charles, sometimes at the women's marches, you'll see a sea of white women, a sea of black women, a sea of Hispanics. But I'll say this: just because someone will march with you does not
Here
mean that they'll
goes.
march for you. All
Mm,
right. So I'll just leave it there.
So when I'm thinking about this, I was thinking about it more in terms of women issues, not
Yeah.
not because
does
you're
a
a
white
Not
woman.
racial necessarily.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
care about the plight of a black woman. So that's what Charles was kind of alluding to. You could find some solidarity, but is there a real care and concern to bring equity for my black
Oh
sister
no,
as a white
in
woman?
that regard, no. I'm thinking about things that affect us as female. I think that we
Yeah.
can
Mhm.
come together.
There is
But in
solidarity.
terms of
Yes.
expecting um a, a white counterpart or a friend to take on my issues as a black woman, no, I personally haven't seen. I mean, they sympathize. I could see them sympathizing, but in terms of being action forward, not necessarily.
Yeah.
And I
Guys,
think it's important for our schools to talk about women's leadership way back.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about in Egypt. We're talking about in Africa. I mean, the Western society has really amplified the evil. You look at the old societies, there was a measure of discrimination, but you have very powerful women leading tribes, leading organizations before the United States was even thought of.
Are you serious?
And
mean,
that,
they're
and that is,
queens.
yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about queens. We don't use that word just to use it. I want you guys to go check back on what Putin said about Africa, and that's another show altogether about African people. But let me tell you, so Latasha, when you talked about roots, I do look at roots now, but through a different lens. I'm looking at those who made it here because they were the strongest. Those who made it here because they had the ability to learn other languages and knew other languages, that those who are in the bottom of the ship can make it the rest of the way. Those who took over ships together. It's sad to see the different scenes of it, but to see the strength to be able to cross continental waves and to get here made me feel like we have power all in itself. And so that's that I look at, I'm gonna go back to Chuck's question. They'll never, I don't care who they are, they will never be able to hang with black women based on what you all have been through, what you're going through, and what the future has for you. Again, even Malcolm X said it. Yeah, you can cheer with us, but you will never understand what it would be like to be in these shoes.
That's right. That is
And
absolutely
that's the
right.
kind of thing that we have to be able to teach our young people. And you know what? Let's stick more to our girls, our women, our young people.
Yeah.
You are powerful. You walked into this with a measure of strength. Your crown that you wear, even if it ain't if it's not straightened, the berets that you wear is gold. I don't care what anybody say. I have to let my daughter know you are everything. And she's already started to experience it, graduating from college. Thursday was my last tuition. I just need to let y'all know.
Amen to that, buddy.
I got to drive something different now. But I'm just saying, she's gone into the workforce.
More gas.
And they look at her as the black girl coming in, or the new black girl coming in, while everybody comes in as totally different. No, girl, walk with your chest high. You're special. Special. It needs to be that way.
Guys, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry.
No, what I was on the internet while you guys were going, because I was trying to figure out something to say so I can get an amen moment that GP and Chuck has been getting all this.
Exactly what we're talking about.
You got to get your rhymes together. You
got
get
the
your
land,
rap,
bro.
man.
You got the land.
I couldn't get one. And I've been looking around. See, man, can I just rhyme that one with that one? Some alliteration. I just said, let me go ahead and stay in Chuck and GP's church.
But listen, guys, this conversation has been so exciting. I love talking about the successes of women, but especially Black women. And I, we have to realize that we are in a messed up world, as Pastor Charles have been saying all night. And no matter how successful Black women are, and Black men too, we will never get, the hype and the ownership, and all of the praise that many of the other races get. But what I can say is that I'm telling you, I've been first in some things myself, and I know it only came through God. And I just want to say to my ladies out there that you can continue to be whatever you want to be. And if you're hearing on this line and you've got some oppositions and you wanted to do some things, you wanted to make some dreams happen, but your obstacles were before your face, I want you to know right now that you can do it. Hey, look at that movie. It is so inspirational, of 3 women who were first in many things when they had not only race against them, but gender as well. And so even though we have some of that today too, it's still a struggle. We have a God who helps us. Amen. And we become even better than we imagine. So I just want to share that with you guys. Any other things you want to point out? But as we close, you might have a closing statement you want to share.
Tiffany said, put Marlena in that office.
And Tiff, I'm going to make you vice president. We'll get there together.
That's true. That's true. Thank you. Thank you. I love reading the comments. Sometimes I get a little distracted by them because they're so great. And I know we didn't get a chance to kind of talk about some of the women who were instrumental in starting our church, the Adventist church, that, often, we hear a lot about Ellen G. White, but there were several other female leaders that were paving the way. And so maybe next week we'll get a chance to kind of look at some of those women that we don't hear about who had a major impact. And we thank one of our viewers for sharing with us an article and actually a video from Adventist Today. Check that out. Women, little known women in Adventist history. Check that out. We'll be discussing that in a future episode. But thank you guys. This has been a great discussion. I always appreciate the dialogue, and I also appreciate you guys out there for tuning in and sharing your input as well.
Yes, on Facebook and YouTube.
Yes, yes. We love reading all the comments, and thank you guys so much. We always say, write us, tell us. And as I said before, so many of you have been writing us and sharing different topics that we're already working on. We have them in the queue, a lot of them dealing with education and pronouns, using pronouns, as that's something that we're seeing even in the church, people preferring to be called by certain pronouns. And so we're gonna tackle some of these topics that you all are bringing to the forefront. And so if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, email us at upset@aecsda.com. And I just want to give a shout out. I don't know if I just went out more this week, but I ran into so many people who have shared that they have been watching the UpSet. And so thank you to all of you who faithfully tune in each week. We appreciate you being faithful listeners and viewers, and continue to tune in and share with us some of the things you want to hear. All right, guys.
All right. Wonderful show, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. And yes,
Thank you.
See, that's what you get for being away for 2 weeks.
Have mercy.
You came back with the fierceness.
So there's somebody asking, they're not typing it in the chat, but they're wondering, will UpSet have a booth or table or studio space at camp meeting?
So yeah, let me just put this out there now, because I heard something. Thank you for mentioning camp meeting. So camp meeting is virtual Sunday through Friday. So that's June 26th through July 1st. All right. And then we're going to be in person just on the Sabbath, July 2nd. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear, because I heard this week people were getting hotel rooms, and I'm like,
don't lose your money.
Somebody was spreading the word that camp meeting is back. Yeah, it's back, but just one day, in person. So I just want to spread the word. If you've heard anyone else share that. But to answer that question, hey, we can make that happen. I know
Mhm.
most of us will be there anyways.
I think all of us will be there.
Yeah, all we got to do is set up a table and get some mics, and we'll be there.
Latasha, there's also Pastor Rod.
Yeah, how can we get? Maybe camp meeting will be the debut of our UpSet merch for sale.
We selling it now?
Yeah. We need money to keep the show going.
We want to see you bless everybody with a cup.
Is there tithe money that's paying for these cups?
Talk to the treasurer.
That's for another show.
No, please don't start.
Stay tuned.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're having too much fun now. All right, guys, it's been great. All right, Rodney, we'll put your order. We'll reserve you one extra size. We'll put them in different sizes. Small,
asking for
medium.
t-shirts. Listen, hats. I'm ready too.
All right, we got our homework cut
Thank
out.
you all for joining us.
You all have a blessed week as well. Thanks for joining us.
Right.
We'll
Bye,
see you next
guys.
week, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.